guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. So today I'm going to be doing a Q&A. I have a bunch of questions that you guys asked me on Instagram as well as in my Facebook group. So I'm going to be going through some of those, trying to answer as many as I can without making this too long. And then I'm also going to be trying the carnivore bar. So I'll talk a little bit about this bar first. I actually haven't tried it yet. I am so excited though. So this is a bar that is on Kickstarter right now. I've been in contact with the creators of it, Philip and Mary Ellen. They are just lovely people. They've been doing the carnivore diet for some time, and they created this bar just to basically have a snack on the go. So obviously you can make things like jerky and like pork rinds and things when you're on carnivore, but the problem with those is they are mainly protein and have very little fat. Ideally, you wanna try to be getting more fat to keep you satiated when you're eating a carnivore or keto diet, obviously keto. So that's where this bar comes in. These are 80% fat and 20% protein. So super keto macros. This is basically, I think they said like a 6-ounce steak covered in butter in a bar. That's kind of what the macros equal out to be. Okay, I forgot to mention that the only 2 ingredients in this are grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and salt. Yeah, that's it. So from what I've been reading, this is gonna taste similar to pemmican, which isn't really telling me much because I've never had that before, but yeah, I guess we'll just start by trying this, taking a look at it. I'll give you my honest review, and then I'll answer some of your questions. This bar is on Kickstarter right now. There's only a couple days left. I was really hoping to do this video closer to the start so that they could get more traction, assuming that it's good, but I live in Australia, so it took a while for them to send me the samples, but I'm gonna link all the information for the Kickstarter down below. I think there's probably gonna only be like 3 or 4 days left by the time this video goes up, but if you're interested, I mean, we'll see how the bar tastes, but it's a really great idea. Click through below, support them on Kickstarter if you're interested. All right, so, I mean, so far, I don't know what it looks like. Like some sort of fudge. Obviously that's not what it's gonna taste like. Yeah, let's just go. I'm trying to decide what I think. It's kind of melting in my mouth. It's really fatty. Trying to think of how to explain it. Let me take another bite. Okay, first bite I was very skeptical. Second bite, I'm getting more on board. It's definitely very savory. Yeah, very fatty, like fat on your steak is just like melting in your mouth. That's kind of what this tastes like. There's a bit of a crunch to it. I don't know if that's the salt. All right. So first bite was not what I was expecting at all. I guess I was expecting it to be closer to jerky, but yeah, it doesn't taste like that at all. I rate it. This is good. Okay, let's start with some of the questions you guys asked me on Instagram. How did you find your way to keto/carnivore in the first place? You can basically watch my whole journey through both on my YouTube channel. So a few years ago, I started doing, I guess, paleo. The first thing I did was I cut sugar completely out of my diet. At first it was just refined sugar. I was still having like maple syrup and natural sugar. So that was the first thing I did. From there, I started hearing more and more about all the benefits of keto, and I wanted to give it a try. Started doing that, just felt so much better. So at that point, I pretty much cut out all fruit. And when I cut those out and actually started getting into ketosis, I was like, wow, this is amazing. From there, I wanted to try the carnivore diet. I tried it for a week, I think just about a year ago now. Filmed my experience. Yeah, at first it just sounded completely crazy to me. I was like, oh my God, there's no fiber. That can't be good for you. What about all the nutrients? What about all the vitamins and minerals? How am I gonna get them if I'm just eating meat? So going into my experiment, I started looking into it more and I realized, wait a second, we don't need fiber. And all the nutrients we need are in meat. And that was a really big turning point for me because before that, I was trying to hit my fiber goal on keto and it was really, really hard. I think the RDA is something like 25 grams. So that's a lot of fiber to be getting and to keep your carbs low. So I was really struggling with that and I was really just thinking to myself, how can this be healthy? And then when I started looking into carnivore, I was like, wait, I don't even need all these plants. So I tried a week originally, then I kind of went back to keto. Then I tried it again for just over a month, doing like really strict carnivore, and I was just sold. I just felt fantastic. It was so easy in terms of like prepping food and cooking. I felt really good. It kind of got rid of my cravings and my bad snacking habit that I have. And yeah, now I'm somewhere in the middle, more carnivore based, just loving it and don't see any reason why I should stop. That's basically it in a nutshell. Do you need to supplement vitamin D if you eat fatty fish, cod liver, eggs several times a week? I live in Finland, so I get vitamin D from the sun only from June to August. If you're not getting it from the sun, you should be trying to get about 2,000 international units a day through diet. And that's pretty hard to get from food alone. Even fatty fish, eggs, things like that, they'll usually have about 1,000 international units max. Yeah, so just take a look at the foods you're eating and kind of see where you're falling in terms of that. I think the cod liver oil I'm taking is pretty close to that dose per day. So if you're taking something similar to that, you might not need to supplement vitamin D on its own. But yeah, the best way to get it is from the sun. It's gonna last longer in your body as well if you can spend 10, 15 minutes in the sun every day. That's all it takes, and that can make such a difference. And the darker your hair is, the darker your eyes are, the darker your skin is, the more time you need to spend in the sun to get the right amount of vitamin D, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're really fair and you stay in the sun for even a short amount of time, you're gonna get burnt. So I think a good way to think of it is stay in the sun until you're at the halfway point for where you would get burnt, and that's all you need in a day. Have other people told you that you look like Deborah Morgan from Dexter? Because you do. I've never watched Dexter before. Deborah Morgan. I can kind of see it. I'll take that as a compliment. How long until cravings go away on carnivore? I'm 12 days in and they're strong. Okay, so you're gonna have stronger cravings if you switch from a standard American diet to carnivore straight away than if you were to switch from keto to carnivore. Yeah, basically if you're switching from a standard American diet, then your body's craving that sugar that it's used to getting. It's craving those carbs. And when you cut them out completely, that could be a shock. Usually it only takes maybe like 3 to 5 days of not giving in at all for the cravings to go away. But I mean, it can vary from person to person. I would say if you're having cravings, just eat more fat specifically. Maybe you're just not eating enough. Might not be getting enough salt either, or electrolytes. You can add in an electrolyte supplement as well. That might help. Also, just make sure you're drinking enough water. Kind of basic things like that, but they can really make a difference. What do you think about diet sodas? Not a fan. I would say avoid them altogether. Some of the artificial sweeteners like aspartame, they are pretty heavily linked to things like Alzheimer's and memory issues, just problems in old age. So I avoid them altogether. I would not recommend diet soda to anyone. If you still want to get sort of like a bubbly drink, there are plenty of drinks on the market that are sweetened with things like stevia and xylitol. Give those a go. So natural sweeteners over artificial ones. There are better options if you're trying to make the transition away from them completely, which is ultimately what I would recommend. Are pistachios really too carby for keto? It really depends. Are you someone who doesn't move much throughout the day? You sit at an office all day, don't do much walking, you're not really burning through many calories, then yeah, you want to keep your carbs lower. So I mean, a couple pistachios aren't gonna kill you, but don't go crazy on them. Maybe like sprinkle them on your food, that sort of thing. Don't rely on them as a snack on their own, or you're only gonna have maybe 5 and be at like 15 carbs or something like that. So yeah, I'd say have them, but just be mindful about them. There's better choices for nuts, like macadamia nuts are the obvious best one, but I used to be a really big advocate, I guess, for nuts as a snack, but they're just so easy to go overboard with. So I find I am better off avoiding them. 3 eggs a day is too much or not? Absolutely not. Eggs are amazing. There is no reason why I should avoid them. I usually have like 3 to 5 eggs at breakfast and maybe another like 2 to 4 later on throughout the day. They are great, not only in terms of nutrition, but they're also pretty cheap. They're easy to prepare and they're delicious. I would never limit the number of eggs I could eat. If you're concerned about cholesterol, don't be. I'm gonna do a video on this or have someone on my channel to talk about it, but dietary cholesterol does not affect blood cholesterol, not in a negative way at least. I've been doing carnivore for 5 days to get over a weight loss stall on keto, but not lost anything. 5 days isn't very much time. You can't really lose much in 5 days other than water weight anyways. I would take a look at how you're doing carnivore. Are you eating lots of processed things? Maybe there's like hidden carbs, or you're just eating more than you think you are. You should be eating until you're satiated. It's pretty hard to overeat if you're only eating meat. If you're having a hard time losing weight, maybe cut back on how much oil you're cooking with, things like that. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be going hungry. So yeah, just find that balance where you're not overdoing it, but you're still satisfied after you eat. Eating out, how to avoid vegetable oils. Meats are always cooked in them. This is really tough. I don't eat out very often, so I don't deal with this too much. When I do, I always ask for my food to be cooked in usually olive oil. That's usually something that doesn't seem too crazy and that they have on hand that they can use. Ideally, you could also ask for butter, but just make sure that it's actually butter and that they're not giving you margarine or like a butter blend instead. If you want to be really crazy about it, this is something I do sometimes now. I say that I'm allergic to canola oil and other vegetable oils and that it needs to be cooked in whatever I recommended. And that usually gets the point across. I have high cholesterol and I'm scared to eat so much fat. Can I still be in ketosis at 100 grams of fat? So cholesterol again. I did a few posts on my Instagram last week, so you can check those out. I did like 3 long posts explaining cholesterol and really breaking it down. So it is not as simple as high and low. There are so many aspects to cholesterol, and I assume what he's talking about is high LDL, but even within that, there are 2 types, and both are very different. yeah, I'm gonna do another video. Let me know in the comments down below if you want a whole video on cholesterol. In the meantime, you can check out my Instagram posts. I think I'll link to those in the description box maybe, because really it's so complicated. I would spend like 15 minutes just talking about that if I were to answer this question fully right now. What's your favorite and easy keto and carnivore diet recipe? Honestly, I like to keep things so simple. Probably my favorite thing to eat right now is just, well, there's a couple of things, I guess. I love omelets. Those are delicious. I'll either put some bacon and like some sort of cheese in it, or sometimes like some olives and goat's cheese. Oh my God, delicious. Other than that, I make these blue cheese burgers, which are just fantastic. Basically just ground beef. You mix the blue cheese in with it before you make them into the patties. Sometimes I add a little bit of like Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper, an egg to get them to stick together too. That's pretty much it, and the blue cheese just melts. So delicious, so super easy. Those are great. If you don't like blue cheese, tips on overcoming binge eating and stress eating, please. Okay, I'm no expert in eating disorders by any means, so take this with a grain of salt, but I find a lot of the time when I'm a bored eater. If I'm at home all day, like working on my computer, I just kind of want a snack for the most part. And sometimes I'll open the fridge and I'm like, okay, am I actually hungry? If I'm actually hungry, then I should make a meal right now. I should cook a steak, I should cook up some ground beef, make some eggs. If I don't feel like that, then I'm probably not hungry, and I'm probably just, I don't know, opening the fridge for some other reason. Yeah, just to kind of find something to do. Someone asked about keto and Hashimotos or just plain hyperthyroidism. Some people say you need more carbs with adrenal fatigue and keto is too rough on them. True or false? This is not my area of expertise again, but I did an interview with Grass-Fed Girl last week. I haven't posted that yet. That will be up in the next couple of weeks. She struggled with Hashimoto's for several years. She saw major improvements when she went paleo, and then when she went keto, she kind of plateaued for a while, and then now she's been carnivore for 6 months, and that's kind of broken her stall. So watch that interview in a couple of weeks. That will give you a little bit more insight into that topic. Other than that, you can check her out on Instagram. Yeah, has a lot of experience with this, so she might be able to help you out a little bit more than I can, just through the information on her Instagram page. Is keto or carnivore eating better for weight loss? I would say it depends where you're coming from. If you're coming from a standard American diet, I would definitely try keto first. The reason why carnivore works well for a lot of people is you can still make a lot of keto desserts, keto snacks, bulletproof drinks like fat bombs. Yeah, you can get, with carnivore, there aren't very many snacks, and your meals are just so satiating that you don't even really think about snacking. But for a lot of people with keto, they find that as well. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to what works best for you. For myself, when I was doing more keto than carnivore, yeah, I was going a little bit overboard with just making like bulletproof drinks. I'd make like a bulletproof hot chocolate in the afternoon and like snack on macadamia nuts, which are really calorie dense. So I find that eating more carnivore and relying less on, yeah, things like macadamia nuts works better for myself. I am someone who can't really do moderation, like a handful of macadamia nuts, I can't do that. 2 squares of chocolate, I have to eat the whole bar, that type of thing. So just eliminating a lot of those foods works better for myself, just for maintaining weight. I'm not trying to lose or anything. But a lot of people find with keto that they don't have that issue. So yeah, it just comes down to what works well for you. I would recommend trying keto first. If you've hit a plateau, you can always try carnivore for a week or 30 days. See how that works for you. You can play around with both. It's not one or the other. You can eat like me. I'm calling myself mainly animal-based now, so I eat mainly animal products, but I still throw a few vegetables in here, avocado, things like that. So yeah, okay. When cooking, what's the best oil / butter to cook foods in? So I have a whole other video on this, but basically you want to cook with saturated fat. So that's fats that are solid at room temperature. So the obvious one is like coconut oil. Butter's good too. I use like beef drippings, like bacon grease. That's really good and delicious. Duck fat, really like any animal fat is fantastic for cooking. I know this is the opposite of what we've always been told, but the thing with saturated fats is they are really heat stable, more heat stable than polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. So they're really the best for cooking. Oh, ghee. That is what I have been using for cooking like 99% of the time recently. I love ghee. It is so, so good. So yeah. Will intermittent fasting accelerate weight loss? Yes and no. Because you're eating in a smaller window, that usually means that you end up eating less at the end of the day, which usually results in accelerated weight loss. Someone asked, what's your ethnicity? So I'm Canadian, I live in Australia. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that. Both of my parents were born in Canada. My dad's side of the family, I think, immigrated to Canada from Germany. But I know both of my parents have done the whole 23andMe and DNA test. And I actually had a lot of like Italian and just Mediterranean in me, or I guess they both did, which in turn would be me. Do you track macros? No, I don't count calories at this point or really track macros. I kind of have a good handle on how much fat, how much protein, how much carbs are in certain foods. I eat mainly animal-based, so I'm eating very low carbs. I always cook with a lot of oil, and I don't shy away from like fatty steaks, fatty cuts of meat, chicken thighs, things like that. So when I have tracked in the past, usually most of my macros are coming from fat. So it's something like 60 or 70% fat and the rest protein. That's kind of where I fall. If you're just getting into keto, or yeah, if you're trying to lose weight, if you have very specific goals, tracking can be extremely beneficial when you're starting out, just to get a handle on, yeah, the macros and the calories that are in certain foods. So I definitely recommend it if you're just beginning. Do it for a couple weeks, then you can always stop. You can always do it every now and then just to sort of see if you're on track. Yeah, but I don't track, not right now. When doing carnivore, can the meat choices include sausages and bacon? Bacon, yes. I eat bacon myself. I would kind of try to steer clear of anything that is super processed. Just read the labels. Like, if it has a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar, that's fine. It's hard to find bacon without sugar. If there's anything else added, or if there's some crazy amount of sugar in it, then yeah, avoid that. Sausages are a bit more tricky. Again, read the labels. A lot of sausages, especially cheaper ones, are filled with flour. This drives me crazy. Like, when I first started trying to find sausages at the grocery store, I'd be reading the labels and it was like 15, 20 ingredients. So just be very careful. You ideally want to avoid anything that has flour or rice flour or maltodextrin or sugar in it. Some herbs and spices are fine. Basically, the less ingredients, the better. But yes, they are accepted. All right, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. I haven't got through everything. If you guys have any more questions for me, I'm trying to answer everyone on Instagram, but it's getting to be a bit much. I've actually set up a Patreon page, and if you just send me a few bucks there, I'll make sure I can answer your question. I'll answer it in detail. I'll, yeah, help you out a lot more. I get a lot of questions and it's really hard to put the time into them that I want to. So you can check that out. Also, if you support me even just for $1, you'll get early access to all my videos. So I'm gonna be sharing them there at least a few days before they go live on YouTube. I'm also gonna be doing Q&As with my Patreon supporters and doing giveaways. So yeah, just lots of extra exciting things going on there. Also, remember to check out the Carnivore Bar on Kickstarter. Philip and Mary Ellen are just lovely. I really want to see this thing happen. So yeah, check that out. Support them if you can. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.